Hey guys, AscendantGod here with Raid Shadow Legends doing a champion fusion review here with Rotos the Lost Groom. I know this is a little later than some people, but I wanted to make sure to get all my information right about him. We were getting a lot of mixed feedback, confirmed with Polarium some of the mechanics here. So to start, is Rotos worth it? Absolutely. He is going to be very hard to earn, though. As you can see from the news here, you can't earn any of the epics directly. You have to earn all of these rares to get them in a variety of different events and tournaments. Now, the biggest issue is going to be the reliquary tender here. Not sure how much of a paywall there's going to be for this summon rush one. Other than that, just lots of energy, lots of time that's going to be put into this. But again, in my opinion, he's worth it. Even if you know you're not going to be able to earn Rotos, I would highly suggest at least trying to earn this Sepulchre Sentinel here. And I'm not going to get into the details of her in this video since there's already a lot to cover with Rotos, but she's going to be a pretty solid champion for Arena as well. So I'd say at least try to get her, but Rotos, he's just going to be a beast in Arena. He's Platinum tier material. We're already seeing a lot of him in Platinum already, and let me show you why here. To start, he's got a passive. The passive here decreases the damage he takes from a single enemy hit so that it doesn't exceed 50% of his max hit points from the hit. What this means as far as only occurring once per attack, say if somebody has a 2-hit attack, like say Big Un hits him with 2 hits in 1 attack. The first hit can't exceed 50% of his max hit points, the second one can. So he can still be taken out from a single attack with multiple hits, just not from a single hit from a single attack. That gives him an advantage against a lot of enemies in and of itself, though. The extra turn is essentially a built-in counterattack he has anytime the damage reduction ability happens. So anytime an enemy hit would have done more than 50% of his max hit points this ability triggers, he counterattacks them with his A1. The first part of the passive here doesn't work against bosses, but it does reduce the damage from bosses by 15 or 30% if you have his counterpart Sippy the Lost Bride paired with him. His A3 is where he really shines. This is his most amazing ability. It attacks an enemy and ignores 75% of the target defense. In case that wasn't enough, it ignores unkillable and block damage buffs. And if it kills an enemy, he gets an extra turn. Plus, if it does kill them, they can't be revived. So this means Skull Crown's no threat against him. He can snipe her, gone, can't be resurrected. He is also the counter we've been waiting for against Tormund. If this guy snipes Tormund, Tormund can't resurrect. With how hard he hits, he will be able to one-shot most targets in Arena with very few exceptions. It's just an amazing skill. And one thing to note here too, it scales off both attack and hit points, as you can see. However, when it damage scales off two different stats like this, the one that it scales off of more is the first one in the line here. So he scales more off attack than he does hit points. But it's definitely good to load him up with at least some hit points since he does scale with that too. Now you notice his base hit points here are very low. It's not even 12,000. My suggestion as such would be to load him up with raw hit point stats on a ring and a banner rather than the hit point percentage stats anywhere. Obviously, you'd want his amulet to be crit damage, but raw hit points on the other two accessories would be a good idea for survival as well as a little additional damage for him. His A2 here is also amazing, mainly for survival. Attacks an enemy, decreases that enemy's hit points by 20%, adds that hit points to his max hit points. Can't decrease a specific target's champion's hit points by more than 60% in a battle. Also can't increase his hit points by more than 60,000, but that's still pretty huge. Now, it also doesn't decrease a boss's max hit points. It does still increase his by 15,000, though, when used against bosses. So it is still useful against bosses, and as long as they can't heal themselves, it's really not going to matter that you can't do the hit point reduction against a boss anyway. One thing I wasn't sure about with this skill was whether it simply increased his max hit point cap or if it actually gave him those hit points as well. Turns out he does gain those hit points. So if he decreases a target's hit points by, say, 10,000, adds 10,000 to his max hit points, he also gains those 10,000 hit points as if he was healing. So obviously he's going to be very hard to kill in Arena if you don't take him out quickly. And this ability only has a 2-turn cooldown at max skill. So he's going to be loading himself up with that 60,000 hit points in a lot of fights. Again, scales off both attack and hit points. While it doesn't hit nearly as hard as his A3, it does still hit pretty hard with the hit point reduction ability on top of that. So again, this is a very powerful ability, helps him survive in the long run. And I mean, at the max skills, bringing this down to 2 turns, he's going to be using it a lot. He is going to be increasing his hit points very quickly if you leave him standing. You do not want to let this champion stand in the arena. And it's also going to make him amazing in dungeons and faction wars as he goes through round after round, making his hit point pool even bigger and bigger. Moving on to his A1. Attacks an enemy, 75% chance to place a 60% decreased defense on them for 2 turns. Also has a 30% chance to grant him an extra turn. So in almost 1 in 3 attacks, it'll give him an extra turn. And imagine that combined with his A2 and his A3. Again, this one, just like the other 2, scales off both attack first and then hit points second. And remember, with his passive, if an enemy tries to hit him for more than 50% of his max hit points in a single attack, he's coming at them with this A1 here afterwards. That means, assuming you have enough accuracy on him, he will have that 75% chance to place a decreased defense on them. It's going to make them much more susceptible to damage. And then if he hits them with the A3 afterwards, between his A3 ignoring 75% of the target's defense combined with the defense down from the A1, that's going to ignore almost all of the target's defense entirely. So unless that champion has a ton of hit points, Rotos is taking them down. I mean, defense-based champions do not stand a chance against him. As far as what gear to put on him, without a single doubt, Relentless sets. As if you look at his A3 here, he has a pretty good chance at getting an extra turn. As far as this, if he kills the enemy, the A1, 30% chance of getting an extra turn. So with a Relentless set, that is a lot of chances to get extra turns. As if you're not familiar with Relentless sets, they give you an 18% chance to get an extra turn every time you have a turn. From my understanding, extra turns can stack. So say he gets an extra turn from this A3 ability, but then he also triggers the Relentless set, gives him an extra turn. He's now going to have 2 additional turns, which means he's going to go ahead and increase his max hit points, and he might put a decreased defense on somebody, but regardless, he's still getting 2 additional turns, 2 attacks. All right? Between extra turns from his A3, A1, a Relentless set, this guy can end up with 3 to 4 consecutive turns before anyone else can do anything to stop him. He is just insanely overpowered. Now, if you don't have Relentless sets for him, with how much he will be increasing his max hit points over time, Immortal sets will make him a lot harder to kill. If you don't have someone for debuff removal in Arena, Immunity sets to block debuffs on him could be really solid. Maybe Speed sets to ensure he snipes out your enemy targets ASAP. You undoubtedly want to bring his crit rate to 100%, then tons of crit damage on him. Like I said earlier, I suggest a hit point ring and banner, okay? And I think a hit point banner would probably be more important than accuracy, since it gives him both survival as well as additional damage. Maybe a resistance banner if you're having issues with him getting debuffed in Arena. Really depends on your composition, how fast he is, and just testing him out and seeing, do you think the hit points are better for survival or resistance? Moving on to Masteries. Since I don't have Rotos yet, I wanted to start with a clean tree here because I don't have anybody that's going to have the exact skills that I would want to give him. You definitely want to put him in the offense and the defense trees here. In offense, of course, the crit rate, crit damage to start, since where this guy really shines is in Arena and you want him one-shotting targets. The A3 works really well with this here, Shield Breaker. All right, where it increases the damage to targets under shield buffs. That could come in really helpful with that A3 to give him a higher chance of getting an extra turn at the start of a fight. Probably Life Drinker here because of how hard he hits. It'll do some serious healing on him for survival, especially in longer fights. And then definitely Cycle of Violence. His A3 will always be exceeding more than 30% of any target's max hit points in Arena, no matter who he hits. So this is a chance to reduce the cooldown on it by 1 turn. So it's a definite must on him. In the 5th tier of offense, Kill Streak could be good, but you want to go with Blood Shield. The reason being is because you want to get Flawless Execution in the 6th tier. All right, the shield is great since he'll have a modest amount of hit points over time. It'll make it harder to stop him in the longer fights. So, I mean, imagine the type of shield he'd put on himself if you have a decent amount of base hit points on him and then he hits that additional 60,000 hit point cap from his A2. It would be some crazy shields that he'd get from this. And then you want to go with this plus 20% crit damage. All right. And that's why you need to get this rather than kill streak here, because kill streak will keep you from getting flawless execution. You want this plus 20% here. Helm Smasher makes no sense on him since he already ignores so much defense. This would be an overkill. Really doesn't make sense. It makes a lot more sense to get flawless execution on him, and he will just be sniping targets left and right. In the defense tree, you definitely want to get the improved parry here since he's amazing in arena, and since in gold and platinum you're almost always going to have people with 100% crit rate on their heavy hitters. This is almost a guaranteed 8% damage reduction there. On the third tier, you want to get the Resurgent here. This is an ability that's a must for arena. It's just great for removing debuffs on you when you get hit really hard. And if you get stunned or frozen, you take that hit that triggers this mastery. It can end up removing it for a 50% chance to remove it as well, which is pretty solid. That can kind of compensate for if you don't have enough resistance. It's always a solid choice for arena. Wisdom of Battle is another must, because with how many people run Torment in Platinum, and assuming your goal is eventually get to Platinum, this ability can trigger quite a bit. With all the freezing going on from Torment, it puts a block debuffs up on you after the freeze falls off. There's a 30% chance of it, so it'll happen pretty often. Definitely a must for Platinum these days. In tier 5, you want to get the Retribution for the counterattack, also Deterrence for the counterattack chances. You should absolutely have both of those abilities, and that's why you can't get Kill Streak along with the Blood Shield in this tier, because you want these two. These two are a lot more valuable than adding in Kill Streak. And this guy is going to be a great counter to a number of arena champions. He can snipe healers or resurrectors. He can snipe Torment, so you don't have to worry about being frozen or provoked by him. And the greatest thing is that since Rotos prevents resurrections, Torment won't be able to come back from his passive ability that normally resurrects him. So this is a great counter to Torment, assuming you build him with good enough gear to one-shot Torment with this A3 here. If you can't, then what you'd want to do is have one of your other allies go first to either put up defense down, weaken, or do enough damage to where you know Rotos can take out whoever you want him to with a sniping. And he's also a great counter to Skullcrown, as her Unkillable won't kick in, and if she is paired with Sanisha, she won't be resurrecting Skullcrown either. This guy can also break through Roshkard's block damage with his A3, since it does ignore block damage buffs. Regretfully, it'll only break through one, so it's not a complete counter to Roshkard, but he can counter Roshkard partially. He can also be a potential counter to Duchess, since all of his attacks are single target hits, and so her AoE damage reduction won't work against him. And anyway, I think that about covers it all for him. Again, this guy is amazing. I strongly advise you go through the trouble of earning him if you have the time, you have the money. If you have any other questions about anything to do with him that I didn't cover, or you want to make any comments that I didn't cover, definitely let us know in the comments below. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe to be kept updated on the future content I'll cover once I do get him. Definitely going to do a little bit more testing, see if there is anything else to add in here, but I have seen him perform in video in a couple of different videos, gotten feedback from people that own him, got feedback from Polarium. As far as the mechanics, this guy is amazing. He is absolutely amazing, and like I said, where he really shines is arena. He's absolutely platinum tier. We're going to see a lot of him in platinum. And then just to finish up here, just question for all, what do you guys think about him? Is he too powerful? Is Platinum bringing in another God-broken champion for arena, or is he giving or are they giving us the counter to some of these God-broken champions in arena that we've been asking for so long? Let me know what you think in the comments. Yes or no, is this guy too powerful? And other than that, guys, I will catch you in the next episode. So until then, take care.